It legit tastes like I'm eating a whole bunch of pizza toppings.
That's good.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
They have like this nice crispy crust on the outside. Look how good that looks. And if you really want to be scandalous, today we are going to be making pizza meatballs, and of course we are going to ditch the carbs and keep it carnivore and keto friendly. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura, and my husband Chris and I have been eating a carnivore diet for over 7 years now. I'm always looking for quick and easy meals, especially those weeknights when you get home from practice with the kids and I need dinner in 10 minutes. My bacon cheeseburger meatballs are a recipe on this channel that you guys love. We eat multiple times a week, and I was looking for a different version of those same meatballs that I could use to mix things up. Today we're gonna throw together just a little variation of those original meatballs, but we're gonna make them pizza flavored. I wanna take a second and let you know that this video is sponsored by Element. Element is the electrolyte drink mix that I have every day. Our whole family has been loading up on it right now. It's so hot and it's summer, and so everybody needs lots of electrolytes. I tend to stick to the unflavored version, which is literally just the sodium, the magnesium, and the potassium, and it's in these like super convenient packets. I travel so much, they're always in my purse, or I take them with me everywhere I go. They also have all of their formulations and recipes for free on their website if you want to try to make your own. We are a big fan of the flavored versions. If the lemonade salt for their seasonal summer is not sold out, you need to go grab it. And then the other flavors that our family loves is the grapefruit. Chris puts the chocolate caramel in his cold brew coffee in the mornings, and then we love the citrus as well. If you want to get a free sample pack of their most popular flavors, you can go to drinkelement.com/LAURAESPATH, and they have a deal for all my subscribers where you get that free sample pack of 8 sticks with any purchase. Thanks to Element for sponsoring this video. I am going to use ground beef for this recipe, but I think actually it would be really good if you used a mixture of ground beef and ground sausage. This is just what I have on hand for today. And I am always doubling and tripling these recipes, but we're going to do the 1 pound version just so you can see the right ratios, and then you could like mass scale this. I'm constantly making like 80 meatballs at a time, freezing them, and then having them on hand for quick weeknight meals. For this recipe, we are going to use 1 pound of ground beef. As a carnivore and keto-friendly binder, we are going to use an egg, and then instead of breadcrumbs, we are going to use the pork rind crumbs. I get these on Amazon and I'll link them, but it's actually a lot cheaper if you just buy a bag of plain pork rinds, blend them up in a food processor, or just smash them up yourself. Either way works. To give this recipe a good pizza flavor, we are gonna throw in some mozzarella cheese, and then also just take your favorite pizza toppings. So today we are gonna use some pepperonis that we're gonna chop up to add to this recipe. And then I am going to season it with some Italian seasoning. You can't have pizza without a good garlic flavor. Some ground white pepper, which is a lower oxalate than a black pepper, and then we'll throw in a little bit of salt. The good thing is this recipe is just so adaptable based on your health and your goals. You could omit all the seasonings, keep it 100% carnivore. If you don't do dairy, you could just do more pork rind crumbs or a different topping for a binder. If you don't do pork, you could do Parmesan cheese and the mozzarella cheese, which actually is like a very good pizza flavor combination anyway, and you could omit the pork rind crumbs. Chris would love to put some like red pepper flakes in here, or, you know, like I mentioned, my mom actually might put like some veggies. So you can really mix it up based on what sounds good to you. I'm gonna do 1 egg for 1 pound of ground beef. I do find though, when I double and triple this recipe, I sometimes need to add an extra egg. And I like to add the egg just to the ground beef by itself, just so I can make sure that it's nice and incorporated and I get this nice softer texture. I'm gonna chop up the pepperonis so they get mixed in really well. I used most of this package that was left. It ended up being about 3/4 of a cup of pepperonis. I put in this 1/2 cup, and then I had added another 1/4 cup later. A 1/2 cup of the pork rind crumbs per pound of ground beef ends up with the perfect texture of meatball, in my opinion. I used a 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese today. You definitely could double that and do a full cup of cheese, and the meatballs would be much cheesier. I'm just trying to not overload myself on dairy right now, so a 1/2 cup is the minimum. I eyeballed my seasonings, but I used a good amount of Italian seasoning, about 2 tablespoons. I used about 1.5 teaspoons of garlic, a little sprinkle of salt because a lot of the ingredients in there are already salty, and then a little bit of the white pepper. And then I just really mixed it up to get everything nice and incorporated. And this is the final texture that we are looking for. I'm gonna be honest, a lot of the ratios that I just mentioned don't really matter, those measurements. You just want it to be good and mixed up so that it's not crumbly, but it's not gonna be goopy. If it is looking too dry and crumbly, like you overdid it on the toppings, throw in another egg. If it's getting too wet and too gooey, just throw in some more pork rind crumbs. You can, like our bacon cheeseburger meatballs, I don't even measure anymore. I just throw in 3 pounds of ground beef and then just kind of start mixing stuff in until it gets to be the texture that I'm looking for. I am going to portion these out using a cookie scooper. That way they're gonna be uniform size. So when I'm cooking them, they're all gonna be done at the same time. And then I am going to freeze them individually on this cookie sheet with some parchment paper on it. The goal is to have them all be frozen individually, so then I could vacuum seal it or throw it in a Ziploc bag and store it in my freezer and grab out only as many as I'm looking for that specific meal. If I don't freeze them individually first, then when I try to vacuum seal them or put them in a bag, they're all just gonna stick together and be a big blob. And the good news is this recipe you cook straight from frozen, so there's zero prep work when it's time to eat. The size you make your meatballs is really gonna determine how many you get and your cooking time. This cookie scooper is the right size, and then I always take the extra second to roll them out by hand so that they're nice and even, and then they're gonna cook more evenly. If I don't and I just use the scooper, you see a lot of just ununiformness, and that is gonna have them not cook as evenly. I got 26 meatballs out of this 1 pound of ground beef, so that makes sense because when I do 3 pounds, I usually get between like 75 and 80 meatballs. This is going to go in the freezer laying flat for the next 3 to 5 hours, and then we'll vacuum seal them. You could cook them straight from raw if you had a meal or you wanted them right away. The only thing is they'll cook faster than if they were frozen, obviously. And so I like to get a nice crust on the outside, which is the beauty of cooking them from frozen. So if you were gonna cook them from fresh, I would just suggest putting them on broil at the end so that you still get a little crust on the outside of the meatball. These have been in the freezer all day. They are frozen solid. And I am going to cook some for dinner. The kids are in the pool, so when they get out, we're gonna have this for dinner tonight. And then I'm gonna freeze the rest like in a container and save them for in the future. If you're gonna eat them all in like a few days or in a week, you just throw them in a Ziploc bag. That pan is so cold, I needed a mitt. You can just freeze them in here and then grab them out as you need them. If I'm not sure when I'm gonna use them, or like when I make like 80 meatballs, I like to put them in a vacuum seal bag just so that they stay a little fresher. And I just know how many we tend to eat. I usually put like 7 in the bag. So 6, 7. And then I will vacuum seal it, and I try to just like keep them separated so that they don't like end up sticking together in the freezer. For dinner, I'm just gonna take the meatballs straight from frozen, and I'm gonna put them in the air fryer at 400. They take about 10 to 12 minutes, and I usually just give them a toss halfway through. If you're gonna do these in the oven, you can do them at 400 degrees also. Just watch that internal temperature. It may take a little longer. And if you are gonna do it in the oven, I would put it on a cookie sheet with a cooling rack just to, I mean, take the parchment paper out, but like just to keep them up off of the bottom of the pan, and it's gonna help get them a little crispier all the way around. These are gonna go into my air fryer at 400 degrees, and I'm gonna give them a shake about every 5 minutes. Today, they took exactly 12 minutes to get up to that internal temperature that I like of 150 to 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Here is the final result. I can smell all that Italian seasoning. I can smell the pepperonis and the cheese, and then they have like this nice crispy crust on the outside. Look how good that looks. And if you really wanna be scandalous, you could take a little bit, I have, dropped it. I have some of the Browse marinara, which I probably wouldn't do this regularly, but I think my kids are gonna love this. So you have the pepperoni pizza meatball, dip it in a little bit of the sauce. If you tolerate dairy well, you could even like sprinkle some more cheese on top of this. I might even like make these smaller so they're 1 bite size, and then mix them with a little bit of sauce. You got the cheese, the pepperoni. Look at that. Put it in the sauce if you want. Then it's like, look, do you see the pepperonis in there? And cheese.
That's good.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
You like the sauce with it?
Yeah.
It's good. And there are so many other fun combinations that you could do with this, so let me know if you try it or if you do your own variety. Thanks for watching.